muscles of the larynx are smooth muscles. General somatic afferent, same thing as glossopharyngeal from the throat. But that would be actually for throat and ear. So part of the membrane eardrum is done by vagus nerve. Personal experience. I had a really, really, really bad sore throat. And I don't go see the doctor very often, so I was treating it by gargling and stuff. And after about 10 days, my ears started to hurt too. I thought, okay, it's turned into an infection of my ears, and I'm coughing up green stuff, so it's a bacterial infection, so I better go get some antibiotics. So I went in, and the nurse practitioner looked at my throat, and she says, well, yeah, you've got an infection. I don't know if it's virus or bacteria. Here's a prescription for antibiotics, but wait 3 days before you start taking it, which I disobeyed. I started right away. But I had to remind her 3 times to look at my ears, because that's actually the reason I went in there. And she finally did, and she said, your ears are fine. They're not red or inflamed. There's no problem there. And I left going, my ears hurt. I know I have an ear infection. I was kind of grumbling about her, and then I clunked myself, not literally, on the side of the head, and dumb. Referred pain. Vagus nerve also carries sensory information from the eardrum. And with my sore throat, my brain was projecting it back to my ear as well. And it felt like I had a sore ear, even though there was nothing really wrong with my ear, because of the referred pain and the fact that vagus comes from throat and ear. Okay? So general somatic afferent. General visceral afferent, same as what we talked about here, except for the arch of the aorta. So still baroreceptors and chemoreceptors from the arch of the aorta. Pressure and oxygen and hydrogen ions, CO2. We do have pain from our organs. However, those tend to travel with sympathetic fibers. Okay, so when I have gas pain or chest pain from my heart or something, those actually tend to go into the spinal cord rather than up the vagus nerve. Taste. This is unusual. All right, it's not from the tongue, but it tends to be from the mouth area and the back of the throat. So the vagus does have taste, but not tongue taste. So I've tried to go on wine tastings, and I can't get the wine glass past my nose. It smells too much like yeast. So I do not know the techniques of tasting wine. But I have read that not only do you swirl it in the wine glass to get air into it, but you move it around in your mouth. And so those receptors for that taste are on the sides of the mouth and the back of the throat as well. Okay? And that's vagus. Okay, so those 2 cranial nerves are the most complicated as far as their function. Okay? The next 2 are really easy. All motor, only motor, and easy to figure out what motor they are too. Accessory, or spinal accessory, is, as I said on, sorry, I'll get there eventually, Tuesday is actually a spinal nerve, because here it is coming off the spinal cord, and if it stayed there, we would call it a spinal nerve, all right? However, it goes up through the foramen magnum and comes out the jugular foramen with glossopharyngeal and vagus. So because it comes out an opening in the bone of the skull, we call it a cranial nerve. Even though functionally, or location, origin-wise, it doesn't come out of the brainstem. Okay, it's going to be a spinal cord component. It's going to have its lower motor neurons in anterior gray horns. So it's going to be general somatic efferent. So you do not need to include the word spinal, or you may include the word spinal when you identify it. That's completely up to you. And this is motor. This innervates two muscles, skeletal muscles of the back and neck. So here is the spinal accessory. It innervates the sternocleidomastoid muscle. That is this thick ribbon of a muscle right here. Okay, your fingernails aren't too long, you can grab it. So it's this muscle right here. And then this trapezoid-shaped muscle in the back, the trapezius. We're not going to worry about, I'll tell you what they do, but you don't have to worry about it. So that one. So sternocleidomastoid does this, okay, pulls the head back and forth or nods it up and down if they both work together. Trapezius can pull the shoulders up, or this part of the muscle can pull the shoulders back down again, or pull the shoulders back. We'll go over those functions actually at the end of the semester, so you don't have to worry about what they do. But that's why it's really a spinal nerve function, because it's coming off of this nerve that comes out the jugular foramen and then goes to them. So we talk about it as a cranial nerve, even though it's really not. It innervates. It's a really long name, but it's just telling you what it's attached to: the sternum, the clavicle, and the mastoid process. Okay, so maybe that won't make it quite so. This one is named for its shape. And then our last one is the hypoglossal, just lateral to the medullary pyramids. Its name has what word in it that you know the meaning of by now? Tongue. Tongue. So this one is motor to muscles that move the tongue. And every single one of them has the word glossus in it. Okay? So hypoglossal nerve goes through the hypoglossal canal. And what easier stuff could you ask for? General somatic efferent. Of course, you have the proprioceptive. I know where my tongue is. I can figure out what I'm doing. All right? But it innervates muscles that move the tongue. Now we have two types of muscles. We have muscles that come to the tongue from outside. All right, so from my mandible, I have a muscle that comes into my tongue and forms this big fan-shaped structure and sticks my tongue out. From my styloid process, I have a muscle that comes into my tongue and pulls it up. So those all have names. Genioglossus, styloglossus, hyoglossus, palatoglossus. They move the tongue, innervated by the hypoglossal nerve. All right? And then we have, just deep to the tongue, muscles that have no name. These are the ones that you would move, and either don't have them or they don't have any nerves in me. Because those are the muscles that, I can do that, okay? I can stick my tongue out. I cannot do that. Those of you in the back, let me move that up so you can.
I can roll my tongue.
I can't even roll my tongue. I guess I can.
Oh, no, not roll. Turn it upside down. Turn it up.
Oh, there's another one there. Some of them are clustered together. Okay?
Twist it. What is it called when you twist it?
I don't know. Twisting it.
Does it hurt?
I can't even roll my tongue, a simple taco roll. I was the only person in my high school class that couldn't taste the bitter stuff on that piece of paper. That's a recessive gene. Other people could do that, but they couldn't do that, but they could roll their tongue. I was the only one that couldn't do either. My entire family can roll their tongue, and my kids have spent their entire lifetime trying to teach me how to do it, and I can't. Okay, I don't know. I haven't missed it. I can still eat without slurping my food up through my rolled tongue. But those are called intrinsic muscles. Okay, moving the whole tongue itself uses these muscles here, and they're innervated by the hypoglossal nerve. Now, if I had a brain tumor or I had some damage to my hypoglossal tongue so it wasn't working on this side, and I pushed my tongue out, where would it go? So this side wasn't working, and I stuck my tongue out, it would go to this side, okay? Because this side wasn't opposing it, same that we talked about with the lateral rectus or the medial rectus not working, okay? So when they are testing cranial nerve reflexes and stuff, they ask you to stick your tongue out and that kind of thing, they're checking to see, does it come out straight or does it deviate to one side or the other, okay? All right, so those are all of the 12 cranial nerves. And so now let's finish up lecture by looking at how, other than just, all of the following cranial nerves move the eyeball except, or which of the following cranial nerves innervates the tongue. So those are types of questions that you can see on the sample exam. If you turn to the study objectives, near the back of the lecture notes, not the sample test, but questions 36, 37 on the study objectives on page 149. And then if you look at the lab preview to cranial nerves on page 40, grab another one. That box right down there on the floor. Okay, so I've asked questions like this before where it's not really a crossword puzzle, but I have a square of box of squares. And let's say that I would have all the cranial nerves and their numbers up here listed. So if I put trigeminal nerve V1, what am I talking about? The first branch coming from the eye and the forehead. Okay? So we've done this already. We did it on Tuesday. Identify cranial nerves that have anything to do with the eye. Either the eyeball or accessory structures of the eye. Cranial nerve 6, abducens nerve, is going to laterally diverge the eye. All right, so abducens. What else? 4, trochlear, is going to innervate the superior oblique. Someone said 2, optic. And 3, ocular motor. We need 2 more. Olfactory smell.
Oh, that's not all the O's.
I just wrote it on the board and erased it. Trigeminal. First branch of trigeminal, what does that have to do with the eye? The ophthalmic nerve is carrying by pterygocornea. Sensory. Yeah. So sensory from the eye. All right, it's going to be carried by trigeminal. Like my eye itches or it hurts or whatever. That's trigeminal. Okay, and then someone else said the last one. Pardon? Same, yes, but the other last cranial nerve. Yes. 7, which is facial. What does facial do? Tears. Okay, so it's going to lubricate the movement of the eyeball by covering it with tears. All right. All right. Meaning we only need 3. Cranial nerves involved with taste. Facial. Sweet, salty, and sour.
Seven and 3. 6.
9. Glossopharyngeal. What's that taste for?
Bitter.
Bitter. Okay, so 9. Swirling the wine around in your mouth. 10. Vegas. Okay, so I didn't say taste on the tongue. I just said taste. All right. Well, since I talked about tongue, cranial nerves that are not just move the tongue, but any cranial nerve that has to do with the tongue. Hypoglossal. That moves the tongue.
9.
9 and 7 for taste. I wouldn't put 10 up there because its taste isn't on the tongue. 7. So these 2 for taste. Movement. Taste.
4.
Taste is 4 is trochlear. That's going to the eyeball.
Oh, taste. I mean 9. Oh,